Hello everyone and welcome to this Meet the Speaker video. I'm here today with Melissa Hubbard. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm great. How are you doing, Vlad?
I'm doing pretty good. One of the things that's a bit weird is that we're in April and we just had about 20 centimeters of snow overnight. So I'm really looking forward to getting to a bit more sunnier weather, especially after the plus 20 degrees Celsius in Amsterdam last week.
Go out there and build a snowman. What are you talking about?
Unfortunately, I still have a bit of work to do, but I still have, what time is it? 2 more hours until I can go build a snowman. Just before we go further, can you do a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Melissa Hubbard, as Vlad mentioned, and I am a community speaker and blogger on the subjects mainly SharePoint, Microsoft Flow, and Microsoft Teams. Lately more on the Flow and Teams side as I've moved into working in Office 365. My day job is a project manager. Right now I'm working on a large SharePoint deployment, and I work for a company based out of the Washington, D.C. area called Withum Digital.
Awesome. And for how long you've been working with SharePoint and Microsoft technologies?
So I started as an end user doing child protection and juvenile parole, and then moved into being a consultant for the government. So that was about 7 years ago that I moved to DC, and I started off at the IRS and supported a lot of different government agencies, and now I'm happily in the private sector doing cool stuff.
Wow, so you've been an end user back when it was SharePoint kind of 2007, right? So you've been an end user back in the old versions of SharePoint.
Yeah, and it was pretty limited what we were using it for. And now that I know what I know, there are so many things we could have been doing differently.
How do you feel the experience for end users have changed back from your days as an end user?
Oh, I feel like it's so much more intuitive now. And I hate to use the cliche word modern, but you know, it is, like so many, everything is just a bit easier, especially now. I'm really impressed with the built-in Microsoft flows in the modern lists and libraries where you can just send reminders off of a date and send things for a quick review. Things like that required development that took a little while using SharePoint Designer in the past, so it's just really cool to see how things have gotten easier.
Wait, so you don't miss SharePoint Designer?
I do miss SharePoint Designer a little bit. I do. I loved SharePoint Designer.
So recently you've been switching to Teams and Flow. You've actually written a Teams book with our good friend Matthew.
Yes. Hey, Matthew. Yeah, so we wrote a book. It's called Mastering Microsoft Teams. It's actually more of an end user and business owner guide. So it'll teach you how to use Microsoft Teams and then give you some ideas on user adoption and governance. We need to do some updates because of how quickly things have been rolled out with Microsoft Teams. But for the most part, you'll be able to learn Microsoft Teams minus a few new features.
How was the book writing experience? That was your first book, right?
Yeah, it was my first book.
How is it writing books?
Ask Matthew how I liked writing the book.
We already know Matthew's point of view because he chatted to me sometimes on Facebook, but I was wondering, how do you feel? Like, I've had 3 of them with Apris as well.
I know, yeah, that's awesome.
The feeling at the end is just awesome when you send it that last chapter.
And seeing it, getting your copy, so it's worth all the pain. I've actually had a lot of people reach out to me and say, you know, hey, I'm thinking of writing a book, what do you think? And I always say, okay, it's painful. Try not to make any huge like life commitments or changes during the time that you're writing your book. It's very consuming, and you know, I'm not the quickest writer. It takes me a while to form my thoughts, so it was a lot, but worth it. Really awesome experience.
Would you do it again now that you work a lot more with Flow as well? Did you ever think of doing another book on Flow or other topics?
Well, we want to do an update of our book
Okay.
now that there's so many new features that have been released. So yes, I have thought about it, doing it again. But it is a bit scary to think about going back into the writing process.
I understand. And you've also been speaking at a bunch of events. I think I've seen you in DC last year, SharePoint Fest DC, and a bunch of other different places. around the year. Do you remember what your first speaking event was at? Like, when's the first time you did a presentation on SharePoint?
Yeah, it was a local user group. In the DC area, we're so lucky. We have a really big SharePoint and Office 365 now community. I run a DC Flow user group now as well. This will be our third or fourth meeting coming up. But yeah, I started off speaking at Federal SharePoint user group, I think it was. And then Baltimore SharePoint user group, shout out to Beastbug. Yeah, that's what, I think that was when you're with your people in your community that know you, I think that's the greatest way to start speaking, because they'll give it to you real and they're not going to be too hard on you.
Yeah, it's always fun to start with a few people you know really well, like you said. Mm-hmm. And do you remember what the topic of your first session was?
Microsoft Flow, introduction to Microsoft Flow.
Oh, wow, so you started directly with Flow.
I was one of the first people who spoke about Flow, I'm pretty sure, because I was using it when it was still in preview. There wasn't even an admin center. Flow has totally changed since I started speaking about it.
Wow, okay. And so you didn't start that long ago because Flow is like 3 years old now?
Yeah, no, I don't even know if it's 3 yet. Yeah, so it's not been a super long time, but I've been going to user group, all along. It took me a while to build up the courage.
That's why it's cool because now I see you everywhere. So you really went up like that. And now you're going to speak at the SharePoint conference in Vegas as well, right? Which is kind of fun because it's like the top conference for us SharePoint people. So how do you feel about that?
If you could tell by the huge smile on my face, I'm super excited to be speaking at SharePoint conference. It's a really big honor, and of course it's in Vegas, so that's going to be fun.
Did you attend any of the other Microsoft SharePoint conferences beforehand, or this will be your first one as an attendee as well?
This is my first one as an attendee. I've never gone to a SharePoint conference before. I think being in the DC area, we have a lot of conferences in DC, so it's a little bit hard to get sent to a conference in Vegas, for me, at least in the past. So I guess if you become a speaker, you get to go.
Awesome. What are you most looking for? Since I guess you've seen it from the outside, from Twitter, from all over the place, what are you most looking for your first SharePoint conference in Vegas?
Oh man, it's gonna be like the SharePoint community just times 10. I can already tell, like the SharePoint community has so much energy and excitement, and I get to speak with Mark Kashman, who's someone that I've always looked up to and really like his work. So it's gonna be really awesome.
What is the topic? What are you guys speaking on?
We are speaking on teamwork governance. So how to collaborate and also keep your content safe.
Nice. And that's becoming a big topic now that Office 365 is hopefully your last migration in a way. You kind of want to keep it, govern it as you go, and not wait 3 years until you do your next governance check.
Yes, do it from the beginning and get it right and do your check-ins on it.
Awesome. And one last question for you. As you probably know, the party has always been a big part of SharePoint conference. I think 2012 we had Bon Jovi, 2014 we're at the NASCAR speed track. Last year, B-52s. Who do you think is going to be this year if you had to bet?
I'm just going to go for wishful thinking. I'm going to say Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So far we had requests for Lady Gaga, for Justin Timberlake. We have quite a few requests. So I'm wondering if when Lyman is watching those videos, if he's actually going to be like, she's right. Or like, man, you're all far from the truth.
Oh man, yeah. I wonder when we'll find out. That'll be exciting.
Hopefully soon. I mean, we're about 1 month and like 6 weeks, I think, away from the conference now. So hopefully really, really soon. I can't wait.
I know.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Melissa. It's been great chatting to you as always. And I'm looking forward to see you in Vegas.
Yeah, see you there. Thank you.